What's up, guys? I hope you're all having a fantastic day wherever you are. Thought I'd fire off a quick little video here this morning before I get my day started. I'm just trying to get out as many videos as possible. I have a strange feeling that I'm going to start getting a lot of messages about Bitcoin once this next leg up starts. So just trying to make as many videos as possible so I have something to reference you guys to, and hopefully you're looking back through some of my videos and you can find out my thoughts on Bitcoin and why I'm such a believer in the technology and why I think the price is going much higher. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about advantages Bitcoin offers over gold. And a lot of people compare Bitcoin to gold. It's been termed digital gold, and the reason for that is because it's very limited in supply. So when we have all of the governments printing endless amounts of currency, at this point it's pretty much just counterfeiting. They're buying up all the assets with this phony money they just print. So all of the smart money is starting to look for lifeboats. Essentially, they want to find ways to get out of these currencies as they inflate them away and destroy their purchasing power. So historically, gold's been the go-to during inflation or currency debasement. People always revert back to gold because of its limited supply, and it's had an average annual inflation rate of about just over 2%, 2.2, I think, and the maximum I think it ever hit was 2.7, so very low inflation rate. And Bitcoin, essentially, they've mimicked this through computer programming. So they've limited the supply, and this time it offers an advantage over gold in the fact that it's absolutely limited. There's a finite supply. So there's only 21 million Bitcoin, and the inflation rate of Bitcoin is being cut in half every 4 years. So it's becoming less and less available, more and more scarce as we move forward. And then I believe it's 2040 we mine the last Bitcoin, and then there's no more. So it has a disinflationary schedule, and at the same time Bitcoin is absolute in supply. So we will mine the last Bitcoin and there will be no more. Unlike gold, we'll always be finding some more gold. It'll just be a matter of how hard it is to get. So that's one advantage it has over gold. Another advantage is the fact that it's highly divisible. So we can divide Bitcoin into the smallest denomination, which is called a Satoshi, which is just a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. I think it's 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin. So it's highly divisible. If the price goes up to say 100,000 or 1,000,000 per Bitcoin, we can divide that up into small little fractions, which is a huge advantage. Gold, you can't really do that. Even a tenth of an ounce round, if gold goes to 20,000, that's still going to be worth $2,000. So it's really hard to buy something like a loaf of bread with it or whatever. Another aspect about Bitcoin, another property that it offers advantage over gold, is the fact that we can send it internationally at very low cost. So if you wanted to send gold to, say, China, you were trying to buy something in China, you would have to pay shipping costs, you would have to insure it. And if you're trying to make a small purchase, say $100 or $200, it's very hard to do that. You basically, you wouldn't have a small enough piece of gold, and then it just wouldn't make sense to pay for insurance and shipping all the way to China, plus the amount of time that takes. Bitcoin, on the other hand, you can send it anywhere in the world at a very small fee. You can send any amount you want. So that leads me into the next advantage, which is it's permissionless. I don't need anyone's permission. I don't need to deal with banks. I don't need to deal with third-party people to ship it or whatever. I can basically send as much Bitcoin as I want at any point, at any time of the day. I could send $1 billion at 3 a.m. on a Sunday if I wanted, all the way to China for a very small fee and without anyone's permission or any third party being involved in that transaction. So that's really amazing. Another thing is that we know at any one time exactly how much Bitcoin there is. Gold, we don't know. We can estimate how much gold there is, but we really don't know the exact amount of gold. And so that is a big advantage. It's highly auditable. We can trace the transactions. We can see where they went, and it's time stamped as well, so we know exactly at what time those transactions were made. So that's a really powerful tool as well that we don't have in the gold market. Some would argue that it's more, it's hard, it's easier to trace, so it's less private and that. But if you really know what you're doing, you can find ways to make it a lot more private with Bitcoin. You just have to be a little more tech savvy. And I think in the future, we will have more of a privacy layer that they'll probably embed onto the Bitcoin network, and that'll offer some solutions there. So that's another one. It doesn't tarnish. So that's a beauty. Silver, if you're storing it, it will tarnish over time. Bitcoin obviously won't tarnish, so that's a great thing. It's also easier to get around with. It doesn't take up physical space. You could have $1 billion on a tiny little USB stick, so or even have your 24-word passphrase that accesses your wallet. So that way you could leave the country with a large amount of wealth, and it would be very hard for the officials to detect. So it's easier to hide, it's easier to store, it's easier to get around with. And gold, if you're trying to leave the country with a bunch of gold, it'd be quite obvious. Your pockets would be full, or your bag, and set off the metal detectors and that. So yeah, it's pretty obvious if you're trying to get around with gold. And it's easier for people to steal in a sense, because it's physically there. It takes up a lot of space, and it's nice and shiny. So it's easier for people to steal in that sense, where Bitcoin, you could essentially hide your keys, your access to your wallet on 24 words, and you could put that anywhere. And it's pretty easy to hide a little piece of paper with some words on it, or however you might be doing that, whether it's an encrypted USB or you stamp it into metal or whatever you might do. So that's some more advantages. Also, what else? So yeah, there's a lot of advantages. I know I'm missing some. I'm just kind of talking off the cuff here. So I know I tried to make this video before and I forgot a few things. So what am I missing here? So essentially, I mean, all that's some great advantages that Bitcoin has over gold. And like I said, the fact that it's just completely limited in supply. We know the inflation rate. It's decentralized. Again, that's another great aspect, that essentially we can all own part of it. It's really accessible to everyone, where gold isn't. Gold, you have a minimum buy-in, and it takes a lot of money. You need a lot of capital to be buying into gold. And then it's a lot of the old same players, the central banks, the big elite families, they all own gold. So that's another advantage, is that this new technology is owned by some different characters, and it's really creating a big wealth transfer, in the sense of it's new people that are holding the wealth. So that to me is a big advantage as well, and that it's international. It's not controlled by a centralized entity. And this digital world that we live in, we're always transacting over the internet. We're making purchases internationally, and Bitcoin really offers a great solution for that. Gold doesn't really offer us what we're looking for in a money or a currency, when we're looking to send money internationally and stuff like that. So that in the current world we live in, where we're using the internet so much and we're transacting globally, I think Bitcoin offers a lot of advantage over gold in that sense. And so that's another thing that that Bitcoin has over gold. So of course, there is risk that the entire thing could go down. We could lose the internet, we could lose the power grid. Very unlikely. And if that did happen, I think we'd have much bigger problems on our hand than how much money we had. But of course, that is a possibility. And then in that case, that is why I hold gold and silver as a backup, because they're never going to lose their value. They're always going to have value, and there's something you can have in your hand, and it can't just go poof all of a sudden. Like I said, I think is very unlikely with Bitcoin. It's just, it's so decentralized. It's all these nodes are all over the globe now, and a lot of them are maintained off grid. I think they're even starting to run them on satellites. So there's all kinds of redundancy in the Bitcoin network, where it would take a catastrophic event to take down the network. So that's one thing I love about it, and it is the most secure network in the world. And that's just a great property of Bitcoin. There's so many computers that are dedicated to maintaining the security of the network. And the more money, the higher the price goes, the more nodes that come on the network, the more computing power that's dedicated to Bitcoin, and the security just continues to get stronger and stronger. So those are some great advantages that Bitcoin has over gold. I think everyone should have a little bit in their portfolio. Um, it's very exciting. It's only been 11 years, and this is a once in a lifetime thing where we see a new currency evolve or emerge out of nowhere. So in my opinion, there's just massive potential in Bitcoin. It offers great potential as a store of value. I mean, we shall see moving forward how it does perform, but I do agree with the digital gold narrative. And as these governments continue to print the currencies into the ground, there's only so many lifeboats. And like I say, gold is just, it has some weaknesses when we're looking at being able to actually transact with these things and store them and all of that. So that's why I think that Bitcoin it's really going to thrive in this digital world we live in. Unless something major happens, I don't think Bitcoin's going away anytime soon, and I think it should be in everyone's portfolio. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know below. I have a feeling I'm missing something. I'm missing a few key points. Permissionless, I think I talked about that. Immutable. I'm pretty sure I got most of it, but I have a feeling I'm missing something. So please comment below if you think of something that I missed. But yeah, those are some great advantages that Bitcoin has over gold. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Stay prosperous out there. Do your best to protect your wealth and get educated about the financial system in this current economic environment we're in. It's really important to protect the wealth that you have, and to learn as much as you can to shelter yourself and get self-reliant, because the governments are in big trouble. There's all kinds of debt out there, and the whole thing is pretty fragile at this point. So the more you can learn about money and the fiat system, and why they're printing it into the ground, why they have no intrinsic value, and why they're going to continue to debase the currency, then that offers you some pretty good reasoning why you should own gold, silver, Bitcoin, and other physical assets, whether it's property or real estate, stuff like that. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.